흔들어 우리 미친 듯이 사랑하고 미친 듯 입을 맞추고 미친 듯 꼬리를 흔들어.
Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm back with a pseudo K-pop commentary-esque video. I want to have a discussion about line distributions, what are they, do they even matter, and so much more. I've had this video idea on my mind for months now, but I never had the motivation to actually do it. This will become a new thing on my channel where I will talk about a topic in depth and give my thoughts on it, so I don't end up with 40-minute unpopular opinion videos. Disclaimer, these are mostly just my thoughts and opinions on the topic, none of which are actual facts. I will mention some idols and artists as examples, but I have absolutely no malicious intent. Before we begin, please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it since the algorithm low-key kinda hates me. And without further ado, let's start. Line distributions is the length of time and way singing lines are distributed on a track. Line distributions are a very discussed topic in K-pop fandoms. Fans started talking more about lines with the rise of line distributions. When I got into K-pop in 2015, yeah, some people talked about it, but it wasn't really as normalized as it is now. Before, there weren't that many channels dedicated to making these types of videos, so line distribution videos added more people talking about lines since they now have a visual representation of them. Basically, before, what we had were just color-coded videos and some Tumblr blogs would count the seconds, they'd make pie graphs of it, but there weren't really a lot of line distribution videos the same way that now in just like an hour there's already a line distribution video. Well, the more singing lines a member has, it also means more screen time on the MV and more center time on stages, which gives the idol more opportunities to showcase their talents and be able to build an individual core fan base. If you see it through that lens, then it may matter. Producer, so very easy and probably one of the most common ways. The producer makes the song and then distributes the lines according to their vision and preference, and or has all the members kinda audition for parts and then chooses who sounds the best. But the company still has the final say. Members, this is when the group is involved in the music production, the members try out different parts, and the members along with the producer chooses who sounds the best. Here the members' opinions and voices are taken into account. This is especially noticeable in self-produced groups, so think groups like BTS, Stray Kids, etc. Company. Sometimes the company will divide the lines from the start, but in most cases the company lets the producers do it and just make some final changes if they want to. So either the company will come in and intervene if the producer distributed the lines in a way that they didn't like it. And when I mean the company, I mean mostly like the higher ups. So how are they divided? Again, this is all mostly speculation based on what idols and producers have commented on the process over the years. So one is through group positions. Overall, this is the most common assumption of how lines get distributed, which is by their official positions in the group. For example, a main vocal gets the most lines because they sing the best according to the position. Who sounds the best? I think this kinda is the most accepted opinion, which bases it on who sounded the best during the recording. Here, this is where vocal color, technique, and concept comes into account. So a lead vocal may get more lines on a song than a main vocal because their voices suit the song better. Popularity. I think this one often gets overlooked. Popularity is a huge factor in various aspects, but we don't really talk about it. Basically, sometimes the more popular a member is, the more lines they will get. This is especially noticeable in idols that aren't really the best singers and still always get a good amount of lines. This is done so the popular members' fans continue to support the group. This is especially true for smaller groups that are still growing. When is it unfair? So now that we know all of that, when is a line distribution considered unfair? To be completely honest, I don't think there is a standardized answer since unfairness could be subjective from case to case. Something that is unfair for one group could be completely fair for another one. In my opinion, a line distribution is kinda unfair when there's less than 5 seconds TLDR, when lines are distributed in a way that doesn't showcase each member. Again, that's very subjective and it might be different for each fan and even to each group. We can't compare groups that have different members, dynamics, and talents. We can't compare ITZY's line distribution to Loona's or to Twice's. We can't compare BTS's to EXO or Stray Kids. So what are the effects or consequences of unfair line distributions? Victims, villains, and fandom reactions. A common issue I've noticed in most fandoms nowadays is the victimization and villainization of members according to their number of lines. Let me explain. Usually when an idol gets the least number of lines, their fans complain, and sometimes their complaining becomes so loud and obvious that the member gets associated with terms like deserve better, most mistreated, and more, and sometimes that becomes all they're known for, as the member everyone thinks deserves more, basically oohing and victimizing them. This victimization often takes away the idol's autonomy and paints them as the poor victim of the group. This also brings them negative attention from haters asking why are they there in the first place. Examples are shuhua, winwin, vivi, and more. Side note, it's kind of interesting the correlation that lots of this happens to a lot of foreign idols, and I didn't analyze that in that point, but I just now came to that realization. At the same time, if these idols are poor victims, there has to be a visible bad guy, which we can be annoyed and mad at. Now, while we can be mad at the producer and company, there are often faceless entities that aren't suited for outing outrage, and this is when fans often vent their frustration with the members that get the most lines, which kind of sucks. Like, I get it, nobody wants their fave to be the last one, but hating someone that has nothing to do with it isn't right either. Like, believe it or not, Jungkook and Mia don't have a gun at the producers' heads demanding for all the lines. Fans often become resentful with the members that get the most lines despite their position, because in their mind, if this member wasn't here, my fave would get more lines, which is kind of sad. So as I said, some idols get a ton of hate for something that is out of their control. It becomes difficult to even compliment them, and it creates a very hostile fan environment. The most frequent reasonings that I've heard for unfair line distributions are the following. I tried seeing both sides for each one, but it doesn't mean that I agree 100% on most of them. These aren't even my opinions, these are just the reasonings that I tried to come up with them. Though I played devil's advocate and I said yes, and I tried to see the perspective of a person who doesn't care and the perspective of somebody who does care. Their positions. So using this one makes sense if you're a position supremacist in a group, everyone has a role to play, and maybe that member's role isn't really that prominent for the music. Maybe that person is a visual and they're gonna get more screen time, or maybe that person is a variety member, which means that they'll be on variety shows. The other hand, what do we do if the company doesn't respect the other positions, like not giving certain dancers center stage or not giving visual screen time? Because if we have to respect positions, we should respect all of them. Also, going by positions, we completely discard any progress the idols have achieved or done over the years. Like, somebody who might have started as a sub-vocalist has improved, should get more lines, but if we're respecting positions, that's never going to happen. I think low-key this is the one that fans don't like hearing. There are idols who frankly are just not as vocally gifted or stable enough for singing lines in comparison to the members of their group. But in my experiences, this is really only true for some very, very noticeable cases. Most idols can carry a tune. Yes, most of them can carry a tune. Most of them can sing a small melody, which doesn't mean that they have to repeat the same word over and over in a song. Their voice doesn't suit the song. So another very simple to understand reason may be simply the idol's voice doesn't suit their group songs or concepts. An example of this could be Onda and Ateez. A counter argument to this is according to who, and it's mostly the producers who prefer a certain register or tone that might affect the line distribution, thus making it subjective. They'll get lines eventually. This is kind of a half-hearted optimistic take, saying that someday the member will get more lines and you'll just have to wait patiently for it. Realistically speaking, this could happen, especially if it's a young group. However, it's not something that's always guaranteed. Some groups' line distributions never really evolve and they continue to be the same unless members change or the members leave, but usually the line distribution continues to be somewhat uniform with some variations, but like I said, it's not a drastic change. Lines don't matter. Well, if you're only really interested in the music and are able to accept that things won't easily change, I guess this posture makes sense. When I'm streaming a really good song, I'm not counting how many seconds everybody has in the song, but that's just me. On the other hand, lines do affect idols in the long run. If an idol never gets much lines, that can stagnate their fan base from growing, preventing them from getting other jobs such as MCing, modeling, acting, and more, thus making it more difficult for them to have a career beyond hiatus or disbandment. This is especially true if you're not from an incredibly successful group, which has, their post-hiatus, post-disbandment life secured. But that's oversimplifying it. K-pop careers aren't as easy and dependent on lines as we think they are, and newsflash, we can't really control other people's careers. Something I really want to talk about is the difference between equal lines versus fair lines. So equal lines are all the members getting around the same number of lines, and this isn't impossible. However, it's very rare. Usually smaller groups can have equal lines, while fair lines would be dividing the lines as fair as possible, giving each member their moment to shine. But that doesn't mean they'll all have the same number of lines, and this is still very subjective. I do think that if I had to choose, I would prefer a fair line distribution. So we've talked about line distribution, but can we as fans do anything to change it? Well, yes and no. Complain. You could complain, but this doesn't guarantee that anything will come from it. Like comment threads, hashtags don't really do much except for venting and bringing more attention. Trucks are, well, kind of embarrassing and also don't really have a success rate. Boycotting only really works if it's a sizable amount, and let's be honest, the whole fandom isn't going to boycott their fave to prove a point. And even if you do these things, there won't be any response from the company, and so you'll get hit with the "it's okay" propaganda. And in the best case scenarios, and after some backlash, the lines might become a tad fairer. Companies don't care unless their money is actually affected or harmed. Nothing. If you do nothing, you have to expect that absolutely nothing will change. By doing nothing, we are agreeing and accepting the way things are, and just hoping for the best, because in the company's perspective, everything is just okay because there's no complaints. Why would a company change their tactics if everything is doing just a-okay? Honestly speaking, I don't think it's just about the lines fans are complaining about. A lot of times the idols that don't get a lot of lines are also the same ones with the least screen time, few center time, little to no solo activities, so it all kind of builds up and it makes fans frustrated, and honestly, I've been there before. So I've been debating this in my head for a while. Does caring about line distribution really matter? And to be frank, I don't know. Most of the time I understand that no, it doesn't, and that there's better things to care about. But sometimes some line distributions just are very frustrating because you want to hear more of your fave and you know they could do it. But I do think that it's not something that we should obsess over, because at the end of the day, there isn't really much we can really do about it. And those are my thoughts on line distributions. I don't know if I made any sense, but I just needed to get it out of my system. I've had this idea for months. So tell me, what do you guys think about line distributions? Do you care? Why? Why not? Please comment them down below. I'm really interested in knowing your thoughts. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. I hope you stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!